Hello, everybody. I'm Christian Day.
Hoodoo said Moise. Nice to see everybody. Hi, George. I see you there.
Oh, what does that mean? What the hell? Okay, I don't know. Well, let us know if you see us and where you see us from. That way we know that we're live.
The icons are there to show that.
We've been having some issues. Our internet went down, which is why Brian's show went offline on Friday. And when I say where you're from, I mean what page you're looking at us from. Like, are you on YouTube? Are you on a particular Facebook page? See, now it's like I can either see it with the glasses or without, but if I see it without the glasses, see that? I mean, where you're from as in what page you're looking at us from. All right, this sucks. So basically these lovely new glasses, where these are showing, I can either see one way or the other. Let me see if I can. Hold on, I got it up as high as we can go. I push it further away. I guess this works. All right, good evening, everybody. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to Send Moise's page and send him a message that we got to do the tough topics. Because I've come up with some doozies.
Yep, you sure have. And
he wants to talk about bunnies and rainbow farts.
No, that's not exactly true. But there are particular ways to talk and handle things. And I know how you get. So guess what?
I want to talk about things like cultural appropriation and magic, all those hot button issues, race wars and magic. Like, there's so many of these things that crop up. The Arthur troops. Do you think you were going to get attacked by some, like, Odinist prison gang if we talk about these people?
I don't even know who those people are, but okay.
See, that's one of the things I want to talk about, this whole Odinism thing. But today's topic is we're going to go safe. We're going to do this safe topics. Don't offend anybody. Don't want to offend anybody.
Will you just get on with it?
Today's topic is the career of magic. And so we definitely want people to ask questions, get involved. You know, you can ask questions in the, wherever you're commenting or chatting. And hopefully, can you see this easily?
Sure.
Okay. I'll put on my glass. See, it's like when I put on my glasses, it's too far. And if I don't, it's like I can't see either fucking way.
Exactly, Raymond.
Fuck off. I have good ideas for topics, God damn it.
Good. Can we get started with this one?
Yeah, but next week we're going to do rollicking race wars or something interesting. Something we can really chew into. So we are going to keep the questions to this topic, which is the career of magic, which would include hoodoo, witchcraft in an operative, non-religious sense, conjure. I mean, there's any number of... What are the magics in the career of magic?
Well, I mean, I think it's more than just, depending on, how you define career. Are you talking about people who are doing, yeah, that's what I'm saying, like people that are doing work for me, that, like, realistically, that falls, on the practitioner, where they feel led to go with that, how they want to do it, and that sort of thing. So there are some folks who are of the opinion that if you work magic or if you read, do divinations and that sort of thing, then it should be, free all the time. But, it's like somebody said something to me the other day about that, and I told them that I can't pay my bills with the air. So,
first of all, the most ancient civilization thousands, 5,000 years old. China gave us the most important spiritual precept. I need to have that on this thing.
Oh my God.
No ticky, no laundry. Just saying.
But
bitch don't work for free.
Right. Well, it goes beyond that. It's more than just, it's more than just, oh, is it, are you really working magic if you're making money on it? Why is the association of money so evil? Back in the day when there, were people who needed things done, what would they do? They would barter something. Like they would give part of a crop, or they would give, a sheep, a chicken, something along, that was Haiti calling. Anyway.
We get calls from Haiti while we're on the air.
Yeah. But there was an exchange that was there, because when it comes to doing work, it's not just, you just, light a candle and call it a day. It's not just like there's, supplies that have to be bought. There's things that have to be done. There's places that you may need to go to do the work, and all that stuff takes time. And guess what it also takes? It also takes currency to do that. And the other thing is that when it comes to spending your time, well, you could spend your time, working at your regular job. Then how much time, which I did for years and years, because I was, I came up, in an old school way that was, you had your job, and then after that job was done, then you went and you did, your work, so to speak, whenever you were doing the spiritual work, and so I get that. But here's the other thing when it comes to like the career of magic. Sure, we can all stay in the shadows, and we all still have clients, and we all still have, all of that there. But I think that it's a much bigger issue or topic than just, magic as a career, because what you're also looking at is you're also looking at the need or opportunity to begin to write a narrative. Because as we all know, like there's a lot of like bullshittery that goes on all the time. And so, like, if you're not like, out there doing whatever it is that, that you do as far as like, your magic and that sort of thing goes, then, who are you really, going to, if somebody's mind needs to be changed, then if you're not writing a narrative, then how are you changing a mind?
Well, as Jerry Blank from Strangers with Candy would say, excuse me, but you see, don't just touch where they pee without coinage. Just saying. But here's the thing. There's different aspects to this, because, in some initiatory traditions, you pay for the initiation, like in Haitian voodoo.
Absolutely.
In others, like in traditional witchcraft, you don't pay for initiation. But there's other ways of, like if you're in a coven, you might bring the flowers, you might bring food to share between people, or, people chip in. And conversely, in Haitian initiation, where you might pay, that doesn't mean you pay forever. You build relationships you have forever. I mean, you don't pay for every conversation you have with Marie. You know what I mean? Not. So it's not so cut and dry. You know what I mean? And like I don't believe in paying for witchcraft initiations, but I have no problem with having paid for Lori Cabot's class. It was life changing. I mean, she taught me when I was 19 years old and I started doing readings, and I remember I was doing them for free, and people liked them, but they would just, they just wouldn't take it seriously. And she said it was because you're not charging people. Even if it's a cup of hot cocoa, or an apple, or, something to make them appreciate the transaction. And once I started charging for people, they listened.
Well, that's the other thing, is that what is it, if there is no value for anything, how are you going to treat it? What change in you is it really, going to make? That's like the people, like, let's say that, that you go to, we'll say Walmart, and you buy a purse, and it's like, $5. You buy that purse, and then, a week later you go to like the bougie mall, and you get yourself like what do they call it? A Louis Vuitton purse or something that's like $2,000.
Right.
Now let me ask you this: out of that $5 purse and that $2,000 purse, which one are you going to take better care of? I mean, I think it goes without saying.
Right. Well, no, it's true. I mean, that's sort of the tip of this topic.
Of course.
The sense of, is it okay to, some people say, oh, it's not okay to charge. I don't believe in charging for witchcraft initiation, but most initiated witches will say, oh, well, if I give you a reading or I perform some sort of work for you that involves actual, I got to go out and buy all these materials and make this thing for you, you might have to pay for that. And but really what this topic tonight is about is for those of you out there, it's not so much justifying whether we should pay for things or not.
No,
Obviously, that debate
it's not.
in this room, that debate has long ago been settled.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
If you're here in my world looking for a free ride on the magic carpet, you're in the wrong fucking place. So that's never going to be, you're never going to change my mind on that. I mean, if I were to train you, which I'm not elevated enough to do anyway, and my initiatory tradition, I'm only first degree. I've been an operative wit for over 30 years. So, that type of work, yeah. I mean, I don't generally, I don't know if you still do working. I don't do workings for people just because I don't have time.
I do.
I don't have time. So people come all the time, oh, pay for this. I'm like, you could give me Michael Jackson level money and I'm probably not going to have the time. God knows what I could make if I did that sort of thing, but I don't, and somebody brought up a good point. A doctor gets paid, a teacher gets paid. It's like, if you're a web designer, a graphic designer, a musician, a writer, or a witch, they want you to work for fucking free. Because I've been a lot of those things, most of them. And so, can you do my homepage for $100? It's like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, but here's the thing. This show is about taking the step for those of you who want to make a career out of magic.
Hello, Antonio.
That is what this is about. Like, what do we, and be sure to ask questions about that. But, what I want to get at is, like, how do you really make the career? I mean, for you, Sen Moise, what was the tipping point where you really felt like this could be a career for you?
Realistically, and as I began to say in the beginning, I was raised, a bit in the old school, whereas, you had a job, a regular job, and then once you were finished that, then you went and to do your work. And I was perfectly happy with that. You know that because, you kept trying to tell me
this. But I wasn't
and this,
happy with it.
And that, right, but and
the fuck you doing working security?
The thing is that it wasn't about, okay, I'm going to, I just want to go out and make this money. But what it was, that had nothing really to do with it. But what it was is that, of course, I've had clients for decades. So the money part had nothing to do with it. But what it was more so about for me was, it was more so about like, taking a step to be able to help people on a larger scale.
Which you can't do if you're tied to a 9 to 5.
Well, exactly. That makes it much more. I mean, it sort of can be done, but not to the extent that that you're also beginning to build a platform or a stage to to write a narrative. And for me, it was. All the things that I would see going on, especially like God bless the shithole internet, but like all these things that I would see, going on, all the time because, some person, was saying this and this and this, that was all incorrect. And how do you prove somebody wrong? You prove somebody wrong by your success. Am I wrong?
And by doing right.
Of course. I mean, obviously, but that's what I'm saying.
Right. But if no one, it's Stephen Sondheim, the famous, playwright. If no one gets to see it, it's as good as dead. So you have to do the right thing, but you also have to make people see it. Now, Vonnie Kisner asked, if you make magical items, how do you get them out to the masses? Well, I've always found that you either need to make something that no one else has, or if you make something that someone else has, it needs to be unique to you. In the case, one of the things we did with Hex from the very beginning is we have candles made for us, the formulas of which are only for us. Obviously I do the essential oil blends for our store, so no one can have those. We have many, many, many products that are either made in-house from our herbs and our things and oils, or we, like our soap lady, Alchemy, Ancient Alchemy, I think she used to be called Simply Soap, but it's Ancient Alchemy. And go and buy the soap she makes that's for her clientele. They're amazing, but she also makes an entire line specifically for Omen, and then another entire line specifically for hacks, and you can't get them anywhere else. So letting people know that you've got a unique way to approach their problem is a definite step in the right direction to making you stand out, especially in a city like Salem, where you've got 20 metaphysical shops and 2/3 of them are nothing but the Azure Green catalog. So you're going from store to store, basically looking price checking the same fucking candle.
Exactly. And that's, that's another thing, when it comes to that. A lot of the work that we do, does involve, like, I think it was Vani that said, getting, magical items, out to the masses. And the thing is that, just like you do, the same thing that we do at Conjure New Orleans is that, most of our products are made in-house.
So they can't get them anywhere else?
And well, exactly. You're not going to find, like a hand that has the same things in it as, somebody else's. You're not going to find a candle that has the same thing in it as somebody else. They call this magical work for a reason. They call it spiritual work for a reason. It's not spiritual easy. It actually involves, work. And when you're doing something along this lines and pushing, toward the idea of a magical career, one of the things that I would suggest to anybody, which is absolutely paramount, is learning, about all of these, different sides of, whatever respective tradition that you're in. How in witchcraft do they make this, or, how in conjure is this done, that sort of thing, and beginning to, become a master of your own craft before you begin making things for somebody else, because the last thing that I want is to make a damn product for somebody and then it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
It's funny that you say that, because this just came up. And it was more of a misunderstanding in our staff, but I was like bouncing off the walls, making sure I correct it. We have I don't call them mojo hands or mojo, but I call them witches' charms, because that's what they would be European, the little charms and things, tchotchkes and what have you. And so I have my own formulas for those. And the very few people in the store are allowed to make them, and if they do, they have to be trained very particularly in how to charge them. And I'll allow certain wiggle room because people have different spiritual backgrounds, but there's a certain understanding of the energy they have to know. So, we came across someone new was making them, and they weren't sure how to communicate to me, but I found out they had been shown. Wow. And I was sort of bouncing. I'm like, what do you mean you're not charging? They won't work. It's not enough. I remember when Brian and I first got together, and we lying in bed one night, and he looks at me, and I'm on my Excel spreadsheet, and I was looking up, human bone powder and things to use for an ancestral bag I never ended up doing, and can't do it now because it's illegal to have human bone powder here in Louisiana, and I can't get my damn thing in because my hand is broken. Excuse me. And I remember him saying to me, "Do you tell people what's in these?" And I said, "No, they're my secret recipes." And he said, "Well, with your name, you could put anything in these little bags and people would buy them." I said, "Yeah, but then they wouldn't work." And he was very impressed, because I think we were very new and he's very dedicated. And, a lot of people meet me and they're not really sure, is this guy just, out for the money? I wanted to, before I scroll past this question, Jeannie Winger said, "I have a question. I do readings on the weekend and work a normal job during the week. My concern would be paying insurance. Without a job, I couldn't afford it on my own." Well, first of all, that place right there, I really want to zero in on that, because within that is that same tipping point that I think you went through, that we all do. I remember when I first threw caution to the wind and became what my best friend Chonda was, a full-time witch. And my mother and my aunt and everybody, you're not going to have insurance. And I'm like, I'll be able to buy it eventually. And I think they came out with that Romney Care, and I was able to buy it. Now all our top managers have PPO insurance, and I buy my own insurance, and that is that piece you have to think. You have to go into this thinking, this is not a hobby, this is a career. And if I treat it like a career, it's going to provide me with the things that a career provides.
Absolutely. It's also, another point to that is that, as you're beginning to, try to move into that life or move into that career, understanding that, everything, like if you're going to build a house, well, you build the house brick by brick. You begin, and then you just start moving into, and you begin to grow in that. And, it's keeping that in mind that, what are you doing is that you're creating your own foundation on which to stand. So, so in other words, you're not going to come out the gate a millionaire, or anything like that. I mean, it's one of those things that
I will say every business I've opened was profitable the first year, except the tour company. But
you get what my point is.
It's called channeling into the, that's the other thing. I think one thing we have in common in business is that we have our hands in different pies. You don't just have a store. You have a store. You have a book. You travel around. I don't do the travel around, but you travel around. You do workshops. You do private magical workings with people. You do readings. I don't do reading, but we both have our hands. I've got a psychic hotline, psychicsforhire.com. The book, the publishing company, the tour company, the 3 shows, etc. Part of making an occult career successful, I think, is diversification. Unless you've got the fucking pet rock of witchcraft, and that one fucking pet rock is just enough, I'm sure that crazy Sarah Lawless probably makes a few bucks because she's like the drug dealer, she's the El Chapo of the witch world with her, whatever that fucking belladonna butter she does is or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, people want to get high, so she's probably making coin with just doing that. But, in my world, it's the diversity. I learned that from, one of your people, Kirk, Barbara Streisand.
Shut the hell up right now.
No, because she would, if she wasn't doing a movie, she was doing an album. She didn't do an album, she's producing a movie, she's directing of this. I find that if you have your hand in different pies, one might work better than the other, and that one that works better might be able to support the more creative endeavors until they have a chance to really take off. It's sort of like your own internal robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right, and the other thing with that, though, is that everything has seasons. And, in those seasons, one part might be slower than another part. One hand in one pie might be slower
Salem
for a
versus
time.
New Orleans.
Another part may be slower at another time. But what ends up happening is, again, having, as you put it, your hand in so many pies, what you're dealing with now is you're dealing with, well, if this is slow, then this will balance that out, and vice versa. And you
well, it
kind
just
of roll
happens
with
to
that.
be that when Salem is in the dead season, like March is probably the suckiest month in Salem. It's between March and February. But this year, well, we actually just had the best March in Salem at both shops that we've ever had. But it paled. Like this store, we just had the busiest month in March that we've ever had since we opened this store in 2012. And you do have to keep at it. I mean, I believe it was Calvin Coolidge said, my favorite quote, "Nothing takes the place of persistence," because that's the key. People will say, there are people that attribute, I'm sure, both of our successes to things that aren't really the full key of our success. I'm sure a lot of people think, oh, you wrote a book, I wrote a book. My book even though it was the biggest seller the year it came out from Weiser, represented such a small piece of the big pie of revenue. But people will come in, you wrote a book, or they think because I've been on TV, oh, that's why you're successful. Or that I'm a marketing, person, or a creative event promoter, whatever they have all these reasons. In reality, the number one secret to why I think I'm successful is when I'm in my underwear, in bed, in the middle of the night, on a computer, syncing up, creating creative marketing campaigns, or just doing the work, making sure the systems are all running, maintaining the server, doing all the tech support phone calls, making sure things are running smoothly, and coming up with new business development, all in my bed.
Right. But at the end of the day, what are we talking about? That's talking about that, consistent, form of growth, consistently growing, what you're doing, consistently growing where you're going, and essentially walking that, whatever that path is that you're on, walking that path to the point to where, what are you doing is that you are setting the stage not only for your success, but you're setting the stage for whatever the future may hold.
Trying to see if the chat's still working, because I haven't seen any in a little bit. So I don't know. There have been problems with this chat. We basically see between 4 and 6 versions of every comment. So some things will...
They kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Let me restart the chat. Maybe that'll help. 'Cause I haven't seen anything in like 5 minutes, and we're broadcasting to so many different pages that it's incredulous to me that, we wouldn't be getting comments. I think that, when I do the Career of Witchcraft class at HexFest, which I eventually want to do a weekend or a whole afternoon type of seminar, won't be cheap, but it'll be good, what are the components to all of this? I think persistence. I think the biggest thing, and I know I'm speaking for both of us on this one, is that there was that moment when we had to say to ourselves, this is what I was meant to do my whole life. Not this is my side dish career, or I'm helping people on the side, or, I work for an ad agency or a casino, but on the sly, I'm famous witch or, hoodoo conjurer. But to decide that we were going to immerse our entire lives in the tsunami of magic. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. And, to take it, a point or a step further than that is that the other thing is, getting to that point of decision or that point of realization that this is where you want to go and this is, what you want to do, at least for me, came a lot, from my spirits being going, telling me it's time, it's time for, a transition, doing what we call, coming to the crossroads. You come to the crossroads and you come and you see that you can go that way, you can go that way, or you can stay exactly, the same direction that you're in. And sometimes when we go to the crossroads, it's wisdom would dictate to begin to maneuver a different path, because that different path has different opportunities than where you're going. One of the things, with this for me is, like I said in the beginning, is that, I'm able to reach out and help, more people. Why? Because I have more time devoted to that. And
but doesn't that also make you better at your craft?
Well, of course it does.
If you're doing something 4 hours a week versus, 60 hours a week,
yeah,
you're going to be better at it.
Well, of course.
When you're talking about, okay, these people out there that think, career, why are you charging? You should do it for free. Well, let me tell you something. If you're paying for it from some person that does this full time, you can kind of guess they might be a little better at it than there are witches that just do things constantly, out of work, and so they're probably pretty talented too, but you can kind of know if the person's like literally spending their whole existence doing nothing but magic, they might be a little good at it.
Right. I mean, obviously.
Open an Atkins bar.
Are you, seriously? You're busting out a candy bar in the middle of the damn show? Get the hell out of here.
I'm hungry.
Oh, my God. Anyway, one of the things that, that there also must be, a constant in is, making sure that you're spending time, with, your spirits, your gods, whoever. You have
What's a battery?
That relationship that's there. It's a battery, but you know what it also does? It also gives direction. It also opens up doors and opens up opportunity. And then you start to feel, that tugging and that pulling, that you need to do this, that, or the other. You begin to go that way. And then what ends up happening? You start seeing things open up. You start seeing, opportunities, that you didn't think were there or weren't there, what have you. And you bring yourself to a place to where, okay, now what am I doing? Now I'm focusing more on, this and devoting more of my time on this. So guess what? Again, you're building that platform and that foundation to stand on.
Well, Gerard Martinez makes a really good point, I think, that applies to both of us. And I don't see, I don't really visit a lot of groups and pages anymore like I used to, so I don't see the hate. So I don't know how much you get, but I know traditionally the main thing I get, because they say I'm an asshole or this or horrible or, misogynistic and racist and every other horrible thing. But the big one that I get is either charlatan or sellout. And Gerard said, it helps that you are authentic. That's the foundation right there. You cannot successfully commit your life to something and hope to make money at it unless you are truly called to it and are passionate about it. Your authenticity is what fuels your success. So important. Because even though I know there's probably people out there that say, oh, Hoodoo San Moise, he's just this, or he's white, or, whatever, white devil.
He's a Jew.
Oh, or he's a Jew. Whatever. The point is, there's always some people going to say, oh, this is why you can't do this, and you're really just a fraud. And because I've been called a fraud more than any other thing I've ever been called. But here's what I know. I know I'm not a fraud. And I know that I was called to do this. I saw in that wonderful documentary from like 10 years ago, Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work, and she talked about how the interviewer asked, is Melissa going to be a comedian like you? That's her daughter. And she's like, don't you get up and say I'm going to be a comedian. It's a calling. You have to love doing stand-up. You have to love to be in front of that audience. You have to love to do the interaction. It's like being a nun. This is like being a nun. If you're gonna be a fucking nun, you gotta wanna
really wanna live in that context.
You gotta really hate fucking kids enough. You wanna beat them with a stick. You gotta really want it. You gotta believe that is not just what you want, but it is who you are. And it's why, I just sit back. I know they say, oh, he's a fan, he's a sellout, everything's made in China, which is so funny because I think the drop-in glass, we just finally found another supplier for the drop-in that you put our candles into to, have like a holder. I think they're made in China. But with very little that, there's those resin statues that you get, that they're either made in Brazil or they're made in China, or they're made in some third world country. What difference does it make whether the sweatshops in Greece, we have these really amazing solid bronze statues from Greece, and we also have statues made in Egypt. And everybody loves that authenticity. But guess what? It's a fucking sweatshop in a basement in Cairo, or it's a sweatshop in Beijing. But what's funny is very, very little is made in China. But Peter Stone, who makes a lot of our jewelry, he has a factory in Thailand, but he also lives in Thailand. His wife is Thai, his daughter's Thai. So it's not like he's just, raping the Thai. He's part of that culture. And I had him do the seals of Solomon, the first planet from each, seal from each planet. And I wanted a certain gem and all of this. And they needed to be in the right metals, and nobody has ever done that on a mass scale. And so they were all made in Thailand, except the seal of Saturn. The Thai people won't excuse me, my factory people, they won't work with the lead. We need to send it to China. So our seal of Solomon from the Key of Solomon that for Saturn is made in China because nobody else wanted to make it. So, yeah, you're going to have things that you do what you got to do to get the thing you do. And you walk the highways and the byways to get the product, but you have to think about what is authentic and also what the customer wants, but also what's authentic. Because for years I've had people come in and say, if you just filled your shop with everything from the Azure Green catalog, you'd make so much money. And I'm like, okay, but it wouldn't be authentic to me. They do have some amazing things. I just never put their label on it. But and the crystal's a crystal, so we get, stone.
But that goes back to that. But that goes back to what we were the part of the conversation we were having just a little bit ago. About making your magic. People will come to you and they'll come to me. Why? Because they want the magic that we have.
Right.
So that's why we make the things, for that. We make the things to, facilitate that magical change, whatever it may be. So I understand that, but quite frankly, like I think that, filling a store with products from this one particular distributor or whatever that you have really nothing to do with defeats. Well, I know that, but you said fill a store with it. That's where I'm going.
I mean, I get that tumble because a fucking amethyst is an amethyst.
I mean, obviously.
Like, I ain't gonna dig up. You can pretty much know if you come into one of our shops, we didn't go out there to the mines, with the John Henry fucking pickaxe or the sledgehammer, whatever it was, trying to cut out that piece of amethyst. It didn't happen. You got to get that somewhere.
No, but what I'm saying is that, when it comes to people are coming, to you because they see a piece of magic that you have. So obviously you want to have your magic wherever, you're selling or whatever you're making for somebody, whatever the case may be. They're coming to you for that, so why not give it to them? Just say it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you talk about that?
Hellbound Heathen said, hold on, I gotta tell Brian, we are going to dinner. Oh, he's probably watching me eat the little candy bar. Anyway, Hellbound Heathen said, Mercury is too drippy. Well, in the Seal of Solomon, it can be mixed metals. So we actually use Peter's just like silver, white, bronze concoction because it's a mixed metal. And so, that counts as mercury, but also said the sun talisman is too expensive. Well, I can tell you there's not a whole lot of markup on it.
Scott made an interesting point.
You'd end up being the Azure Green showroom for people to... Okay, there's a store in Salem that I absolutely love called the Magic Parlor, which is half joke shop and half Azure. It's mostly Azure Green with their witchcraft side. And they do it well, and they hand out the Azure Green catalog with their name on it. So you can literally order from them. And they're great for what they are, but that's them. I want to be... Even if we don't make the products... And this is to add to your point. They know that we've got the magic in us, but it's more than that. They know that if we have that magic in us, we also have the ability to curate that from others, to know that the product we're putting in there from somebody else is worth having.
Of course.
And that matters too, because we're so particular. I mean, everything in both of our shops is incredibly curated. Sophronia said, I want to take Christian's candy. It's got no sugar in it. I would love to have a lead Salem Saturn pendant for workings. I love that Charles is so dedicated to this business that he wears all 7 of them. But I'm like, Charles, you're going to die wearing that fucking lead pendant. I don't know. I might put grease on it or something so you don't get lead poisoned. But here's the thing. If you want a piece of fucking gold hanging around your neck, it ain't going to be cheap. That's just how it is. It's
Sure.
like Penny Cabot told me 30 years ago, because I saw that gold pentacle with all the emeralds, and she said, because no one fucks with you. They look at when they see this piece of gold around, they don't do what they would do if I was at the mall, working at the piercing pagoda, with this ugly ass fucking pewter pentacle that was poured so badly it's got bumps and burrs all over it, and somebody walks up and thinks, no, they look at that and say, fucker serious. And it's the truth. We do place value on currency. We place value on material objects. There was a day when we placed value on barter, but there was always a value.
Right.
Magic always comes at a price.
Well, indeed. But to get, more back on the damn topic, the thing is that, like, people, have asked and want to know, like, how do you, begin to start, taking those steps, to facilitating a career in magic? And how do you,
Well, don't you first have to find out what you want to do?
Of course, but I'm saying, somebody who knows what they want to do, what would you say would be a couple of steps that they could begin to expand upon to begin to walk down that path?
Well, number one, which we've already covered, so I won't dwell on it, but just to repeat it, is ditch the fucking no voice and the fear. Every one of my proteges or people that I was inspired, I don't consider you a protege, but you are one of those people I looked at and said, this guy's got talent. What the fuck's he doing there? And I've seen those people throughout my life, just as Sean saw me and Lori Cabot saw me. Those of us that have gone over, do this. Get past the fear, that's number one. Find out what it is you really like to do. You may want to be a career witch, but you just may not be someone that's interested in opening a retail shop. Frankly, I don't know that I would open a retail shop at this point if I knew I had to sit in there and run it. Most of the businesses in Salem, Massachusetts, whether they're the shut 'em up, whether they're actual witchcraft or some other kind of business, most of the businesses in Salem are shut 'em up businesses. It's either a husband or a wife, and the spouse makes all the money. So, oh, honey, go open a witch shop. They don't make any money. They don't have to worry. They only have to get by. It's a hobby to them. That's most of Salem. Someone like, Bewitched or Lorelei at Crowhaven, or, those of us that this is, if we don't do this, we don't eat. Having that is important. Sean called it the soup kitchen mentality. That sense, well, I'm going to make this successful, because if I don't, I'm going to fucking starve, or I'm going to end up back in the muggle world, or I'll have to say I have anxiety and get one of those cuckoo check disability stipends that are so popular these days among the pagan community. Hey,
my God.
First of all, I'm certifiably fucking nuts. I turn the fucking short bus into a limo, so I don't want to hear it. But the point is that you got to get rid of the fear. You've got to know what you want to do. Do you like making products? There are not enough wholesalers in the magical community. And when I say wholesalers, I mean if you make candles, for example, you aren't doing it out of your basement. You're actually buying enough wax that you're making money and the person you're selling to is making money. I would never dream of vague booking or subtly trying to infer any sort of thing.
Get on with it.
However, if you're gonna do it, fucking do it. If you want to be a candle company, have yourself a fucking, room that is commercial and has big wax melters, and don't piddly fucking diddly.
Well, yeah, and the things that you can do is you could, take your products, like, let's say that you make soaps, candles, whatever, incense, whatever. You know what you can do? You can also, like, take some of the things that you make to, like, local business owners and say, hey, I make these products. Do you want to, sample them, try them out, and see what you think about it? But essentially, remember, getting into this as a career is always, always, always something that you are going to.
I want to clarify, because you sort of to fake it till you make it. But you got these few clients, they're really happy. They're constantly 1,200 square feet, nothing. Could be a unit inside a warehouse, something like that. They got plenty of those around. We're actually thinking of doing it. And you just keep taking it. It's sort of like I didn't stop with one store. I can't stop with one Pringle.
Continued topic talking.
I can't stop with one piece of. I can't just have one stick of pot, as Jerry Blank would say. And so one store became two, became three, the Festival of the Dead became the store, became the second store, became the third store, the tour company, the second tour company, Psychic Hotline. Now we have a publishing company. You take it to the next level, but you have to like what it is you're doing. I don't actually like the sales aspect of retail. Like I can't, if I worked behind the counter, I'd have no fucking customers. So I'd hire stuff because I'm a cunt. I'm a cunt. I'd be like, the fuck do you want? I'm busy. No, I'm not the person for that. So you hire the person, and that's another major. You want to talk about points along the way to success? Look beyond yourself. Isn't that a line from Silence of the Lambs? Look beyond yourself.
I have no idea.
Or is it look into yourself? Look beyond yourself. Understand the power of a team. I am a fucking jack of all trades and a master of a lot of them. I'm very good at a lot of things, but guess the fuck what? I'm one person. I got, normally two hands. Right now I got one. I can't even fucking type. Understanding the value of the team is crucial. There was a point very early on where I started hiring people to work as in the store, so I wouldn't have to run the store. Yeah, there was one person running scat prostitution out of one of the computers, pooping on people. That's a whole story. They sold meth. Ding Dong and Lisa sold meth out of the store. Along the road, I had neo-Nazis working. I mean, we've had it all. To get to the amazing staff and team that we have now, all of whom make this what it is. It can't just be you. So eventually you have to say, okay, if I am a wholesaler, I need to start curating products. A wholesaler may not make all their products. You can be what's called a distributor of other, like Azure Green doesn't make all their products. They're a distributor. They go to the makers and the wholesaler makes for them, then they distribute it out. So you might be a middleman. You might be a curator of wonderful products. One of the people that do really well with that, is White Light Pentacles in Salem, and they own New Aeon, if you can ever get them when they're open. But they do have a lot of really amazing, their hours are now and then. But the curator, whatever your thing is, understand that there's a point at which you can't do it alone.
Sure. But even like with people, again, just starting out or wanting to move into that direction, you start small and then you work your way, big. Like when it comes to just like the same with Christian, when it comes to sales and, like doing that aspect, no, that's definitely not my forte. If you want some magic, I could do that for you. If you want me to sell you a cup, I can't help you with. I'm just like, I don't know, pick the one that you fucking like. I don't care.
We try to curate the night. We do a lot of antique shops and stuff, and we'll find these really interesting chalices that but not every, that might not be your thing. You know what I mean? Like I love going down Magazine Street, and I go into the antique store and I see a god and goddess, and it's not really a god and goddess. It's a male and female chalice. Oh, I buy it, I stick it, scrub it up.
Right.
Because it's unique.
But, again, being back on topic.
Such a bitch. Christian should do stand-up with Sen Louise standing next to him, rolling his eyes. So basically, we're Sonny and Cher.
Yeah, apparently.
They say we're young and we don't know.
Wendy made a good point, and she said that your strength is making decisions. You're absolutely right. But it's not just, here's the thing. Making a decision is one thing, and that is absolutely paramount. But what is even more important than just simply making the decision is following through. Follow through, follow through, follow through.
So
no matter
true.
What. And the thing is that you all know, what do you have a proclivity for? What do you have a talent for. You take that and you begin to work that. You take that, whatever that magical side of it is, you take that and you begin to work that, and then you begin to grow that. You start out doing whatever it is that needs to be done, and when a few people start getting, whatever, if you're making products, a few people get some products, they work, they start telling more people, and then things begin to grow.
But
if you do readings, hold up.
They don't always grow.
If you follow through, that's a different story. If you do readings, you do, divinations, what have you, you do some divinations for folks. They'll say, oh my God, I have, got this reading and it was great and blah, 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 blah. And, things begin to grow that way. Let me tell you something. There is a reason why right now, currently, I have clients on 5 continents, who call me, all the time.
Happy endings?
So go fuck yourself. Anyway, what I'm saying is that, that those what seemingly is insignificant in the beginning turns out to be something that essentially propels you to a new plateau and a new place of where you're going. But until you put yourself, in that place, or put yourself in that decision, or making that decision to do that, as well as follow through with it, you're really not going to do anything but kind of sit on the sideline and, probably complain.
Okay, but take psychic readings as an example, because that's probably the most obvious and easy, when you think, oh, I want to be in a witch career. Well, what does the majority of people in a witch music, the majority of people, I don't think this is necessarily true with hoodoos, or what could be, but in a witch career, the majority of them are not doing magic, they're doing readings. But that has a certain plateau, because either you have to make more minutes in the week, or if you're so super popular, you reach a point where, like Lori Cabot, I think is $150 a half hour or something, and she gets it and she's worth it. But, if you're one person, you either have to keep jacking up your price, or you have to do like what the Long Island Medium does, which is amazing, and then you have a seance, with a room full of people and you're reading so many, or you do what I do and you stop reading entirely and you start managing other psychics, which is where each one of these gray hairs represents a psychic. Because the management will tell you the hardest fucking aspect of this entire, our corporation is called Warlocks, Inc. The toughest motherfucking thing is managing psychics. Most of them, we've got some that don't, but they all think they're the fucking Queen of Sheba. And it's like, it's so challenging. And, I can't be near her energy. Can you move me? And Sean used to say, sit down, shut up, and be psychic. So I just think, whatever it is you're doing, always be thinking about the next level while you're on this one. Don't suddenly be stuck, oh my God, I've got so much going on, I don't know what to do. There should always be a plan for the next stage, or even if it's a loose one.
Well, yeah, you're always, a continuation and desire to grow should always be there. Working in that, it's just like, tending a garden. You keep watering it, you keep, giving it, sun, soil, all that kind of stuff. And what happens? It begins to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's always the goal, because the bigger the tree, the more fruit it produces.
Right. And you have to, the old saying, do what you love and the money will follow. Well, obviously, if you love being a witch, you'll love doing it full time. But there's so many different corners of where you could do. We really here's 2 things we need more of in the magical community: wholesalers and artists. And,
I agree.
And when I say artists, I know I'm delving into danger. This might be a more dangerous thing I'm about to get into than race wars in the craft and cultural appropriation. Because now I'm going into the herd. And when you go into the herd, God, you might get caught under a stampede. Every behemoth thinks, well, especially the lesbians. When I was in Commercial Street in P-Town, every giant lesbian thinks she can paint, bead, or sculpt. Sean used to call it loving hands at home. I don't want wire wrap fucking jewelry. I'm sorry. I know you probably love making it, but every fucking fatty from here to fucking Timbuktu makes fucking wrap wire or beads or, you know, it's just, it's trite. You know, I want somebody that can actually solder and make, like the woman that makes our wands in Canada. It's fucking amazing, and we sell them like crazy because she hand solders the crystals, and it's like not something, you know, any church fair fucking special is going to churn out. There aren't enough artists. There just aren't. And there aren't enough wholesalers that are curating high-end products. Like, I had to fucking go to Greece, and I had to find a man from Egypt to get Egyptian and Greek. Like, we've got one company I'm still having a hard time getting, where I have that, it's an incense burner that's an exact replica of the one from Delphi, like the size and everything, and it's fucking gorgeous. And I have it here on the altar at the store in the temple room. And if we had wholesalers that were curating that instead of what Keops and Azure Green and these other places are curating, you know, because all the distributors we have in the magical community, nearly all of them are low-end schlock. I think Starlinks has elevated it to a point, you know, shout out to Felicia, but even that, I love her, but, you know, it's not solid bronze Greek fucking, you know, where are those wholesalers willing to do that? And the most important thing is, pagans don't produce. It's like, we'll wait 10,000 fucking years for your spirit to tell you it's time to make the candles we already prepaid you $5,000 for. Get off your fucking ass and start pouring wax.
Right. So, in other words, I'll just say, whatever your talent or proclivity is, work more, you know, as to nurture that and to grow that, because everything always has a beginning. And so you start at the beginning and you begin working, you know, with that. So are there, so what message would you want to leave everybody with?
I want to leave it with Jack Civitarese' comment. Hardest job I've ever had was running John's Psychic Fair. No, and I want to shout out to Jack Civitarese because, and by the way, girl, we just sold a couple of your capes. She makes the tatter capes that are so amazing. And, like, she produces, she gets them to us. Mind you, it took me 10,000 years to get you to like me, but now that you do, she makes these amazing, like, incredible capes, and she's talented. There needs to be more Jack Civitareses out there that are talented, that produce, that put themselves. The thing I would say more than anything is, if you want a career in magic, you must literally hurl yourself. You do, as Sean used to say, you do sell your soul in witchcraft, but you sell it to yourself. And what that means is, it was never yours to begin with. It's sort of like they said in Poltergeist 2, remember the Indian? Said, you've always had somebody controlling you from the day you were born. When you truly claim magic, you are selling your soul back to yourself because you're taking it. It wasn't yours. Somebody's always been fucking with it. You must claim who you are, what you want to be, and the legacy you're going to leave. What would you say?
What I would say is that when you're wanting to move into this, you know, number one, again, cultivate your proclivity, cultivate your magical talent. Know the tradition in which you're practicing for the love of God. You know, put yourself, you know, in a place to where there is a potential for growth. Put yourself in a place to where you can begin to start walking, you know, that path. And just understand that it's, you know, stone by stone, but every stone you lay is a stone closer to the success that you're looking for. And then I will also say, which is equally, if not more important, make sure that you are always, always, always having a very strong bond and communicative relationship with your spirits. That is absolutely the most important thing that you can do, because if you don't have that, you don't have a foundation, and then you're fucked either way.
I would add to that, because there's the science aspect of witchcraft, because we have our gods and our spirits in the other worlds, but there's also our inner power too. And a lot of people forget and neglect that. They don't just neglect their spirits and their deities and gods. They neglect that power within themselves. And a lot of times, and you see this a lot in the online communities, both hoodoo and witchcraft, when they only talk about the spirit, and they forget the fact that
there's a balance in everything.
There's a power in you that
yes.
you can't neglect.
Absolutely, there is. And my inner power is saying that I'm getting ready to go piss.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Hex Offenders, part of the Hex Education Network. You can catch Brian and Levi Friday night at 7 p.m. Central. They're going to be talking about covens. I believe our next show...
It will not be this coming weekend. I will be teaching in Atlanta, so I will not be here next
you can
week.
zoom in from somewhere else.
Yep, I'm not zooming anywhere because I'm going to be zooming my ass teaching a class.
Well,
is what I'm going to be doing.
I want to know if people think we should do race wars in the magical community.
Just a side note, there was somebody, and the message scrolled too quickly in the beginning of the show that I didn't get to see who it was, but somebody was asking me for a consultation. If you want a consultation with me, just send me a message on Facebook, and then we can work all of that out.
And I want that Sophronia to reach out to me, because she's got some vendors she wants to share. I'm going to love her forever.
All right, y'all. Good night. I'm going to pee. Bye.